Matt, come on up, Matt and Trevor. By the way, shameless plug for CSG training. I'm going into level 3 in March. I was a newspaper reporter for 20 years. I've covered state legislatures, federal campaigns and all that, and I learned a lot of things that I did not know by the CSG training. Also, I write the newsletter. Please, if you'd like to sign up, make it legible, and I will be happy to sign you up. All right, Matt Lauer, not of the Today Show. What, 30 years younger, with a lot more hair, not nearly as liberal, right? He is the Sentinel coordinator for Heritage Action for America. Matt was the president of the Washington University in St. Louis College Republicans, and he interned for the Heritage Foundation and Senator Mike Lee, that most awesome conservative from Utah. With him is Trevor Laky, who was the University of Arizona president of the College Republicans and has served on many conservative campaigns, including the youth coordinator for Governor Cuccinelli campaign in Virginia, which is very impressive for what happened in that state. And he is the Southwest Regional Coordinator for Heritage Action for America. So I'd like to welcome to the stage and shamelessly present them with a $25 check. That way I was said 20, but I get 25, so I get the newsletter. All right, so here you go. Welcome and thank you. And please sign up, because Heritage Action is how we as conservatives go on the offense. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. I don't want to have the microphone go crazy. All right. I get a clicker. So, since I know we're not as much on time, this is going to be more of an overview of what the Sentinel program is, what Heritage Foundation, what Heritage Action is, and we're going to go through it a little bit and also some tips on how you can actually become a little bit more knowledgeable and a little bit better as political activists just today. So, we'll get started. Talking about the Heritage Foundation, this is going to be a great show of hands. How many have heard of the Heritage Foundation? Yeah, it's usually about 99.9%, which seems to be the level of opposition to Obamacare lately. So, they were founded in 1973. They're 501c3, so their education, they're not based on politics. They're tax deductible, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of you will probably recognize some of their products. How many are familiar with the Daily Signal? That's their news organization. It was formerly the Morning Bell. You might have gotten that in your email every morning from them. And then other things like the Index of Economic Freedom and whatnot. So where we differentiate, we're Heritage Action for America. We were founded in 2010 in response to Obamacare, where we won the debate. We won the fight on policy, but it became law. It became law. And now we're stuck with this law, and we need to do everything we can to defeat it, which obviously we're doing vigorously, you all are doing vigorously, and we need to make sure Congress does that vigorously. So, we take those policy visions from Heritage Foundation, make them into political realities. And we do that through really two different ways. So we have a two-pronged approach. That's our government relations team, guys who have stomachs of steel, go in to actually talk to members of Congress and their staffs, try and convince them of what the best thing to do is. And then we also have our Sentinel program, which here to talk to you about. The Sentinel program is all about getting you guys in the field as grassroots activists knowledgeable on both the issues and also how to become more active and better activists so that your members of Congress know who you are and know that you want to see conservative policies get implemented. So, I'll give it to Trevor. He's going to briefly talk about kind of this relationship and how it works, and we'll switch off just as we go.
How's it going, guys? Well, what a fantastic group, first off. This is just great. Being out in Arizona, being actually on the ground level, I go to tea parties all the time, conservative groups. This is one of the biggest groups I've seen, so I'm really excited to be here. This is just, the enthusiasm has just been fantastic. Okay, so here you have a couple things that normally you don't like on a piece of paper. You've got Congress and you've got lobbyists. That's usually a bad idea because when we think of those two things, we think about lobbyists going in there for special interests, trying to get corporate bailouts for the fat cats. In reality, what the Sentinel program is trying to do is get each and every one of you a lobbyist of your own. That's what we do with the Sentinel program. That's what we do with Heritage Action. It's not, you'll see on our group, we've got our Sentinels and we've got our lobbyists, but they're not separate. They're actually equal and they require each other to do their job effectively. Our grassroots team goes onto the Hill with a specific issue that we're fighting, and they find out where a representative stands on that issue. And once they find out, they go to me, they go to Matt, and they say, this representative is either strong or weak on this issue. We then go out to our activists and we say, this representative is either strong or weak on this issue. Let's pressure them, or let's thank them for standing up for what we believe. So you guys will go to your Congress. Oh, are we already over here? Yeah, so there's the lobbyists and how they communicate with the Hill. Then after we find out what intel they have brought, you see intel in the middle, then our Sentinels go to them and contact them. And this can be done through all sorts of different ways, as you learn from the Center of Self-Governance. We also do training on our own, but we love CSG. You use emails, op-eds, personal meetings, calling them, whatever you can do to pressure them. Then you get your intel in return. Say you contact your representative and they say, no, we do not support President Obama's executive amnesty. You actually come back to us, tell us that, and we tell our GR team that, and they no longer have to spend those resources talking to that representative because we know they're secure. So they'll go elsewhere now, and they'll start pressuring other representatives. So it's a two-pronged attack, and it's just to make you guys more effective. We want to give you guys as much power as possible to influence your representative. And I've got stories about that. If you want to come to me afterwards, we can talk about it. Are you taking this?
So getting specifically into the Sentinel program, we look at it with 3 ideas. We have an axiom, kind of 3 key points. So it's know the issues, grow your skills, and go out and lead. So know the issues, grow your skills, go out and lead. Know, grow, go. It's catchy. It's like it was almost like a marketing ploy or something. So going into each of those, this is where we come in, and we're a resource to help you on growing all 3 of these areas. So obviously, before you try and advocate for something, you need to know something about it. You need to know the issue, you need to know what's going on. A lot of times what Washington does is they don't tell you what's going on. They like to keep it underneath the radar. So one of the big things we like to do is help you understand what's going on. We have a lot of different tools. We have a conference call every Monday. We have lots of emails that get sent out. But there are other things that as a person you can do as well. And so we have kind of 2 things noted if you're going to know a lot of things. So first you need to follow your members of Congress. You need to know your members of Congress. How many of you know your member of Congress? I hope so, because I know we probably don't want him. Better candidate here. And he can do a lot of different things. He can subscribe to their newsletter. How many have subscribed to their member of Congress's newsletter? I suggest everyone does it, because even if you don't want to read a single thing that he puts out, it's still good to know what he's saying and how he's saying it. So I'd suggest you get on the newsletter. You can follow them on social media. You can set up something called Google Alerts, which we'll go through really quickly. It's very useful for you guys. It's almost like getting a Google search every day on exactly what's going on with your congressman or the issues. And that's the other important thing. You need to know what the issues are. What's going on? There's ways to follow that. Researching how a member of Congress is voting on that issue. We have a scorecard. It's kind of hard to read here, but you'll actually have one on your table here. It shows all the members of Congress, where their vote is relative to where we would see an ideal conservative. So you might see someone like Nancy Pelosi has a 12%, and you're curious, 9%, so not even double digits. And you're probably curious how she was right 9% of the time. That would be useful to look up. Pete Aguilar is obviously not on there because he's a new congressman, but you can see how he's voting online right now if you want to take a look at it. There's only been like 4 votes, so I think it's probably 0%, but hey, maybe it'll go up to 1% one of these days. And finally, if you have an issue that you like, dig into it, become an expert on it, because as you'll see, when you're an expert on an issue, that can actually be valuable for staffers and also for other people to know so that they can understand the issue more broadly and well. So Google Alerts, this is something each and every one of you can do really once you get to your computer in about 3 minutes. And it's one of the things that a lot of people don't know about, but is really helpful. So with Google Alerts, what you can do is you can get automatic notifications to your email on pretty much anything. In here I put in Dana Rohrabacher, who you guys probably know, he's the member of Congress from the 48th District. I put your favorite member of Congress, Nancy Pelosi, so you can get wonderful updates on her as much and as often as you want. And you can do it for specific issues. So if there's something you're really interested in, whether it's Export-Import Bank, transportation, Obamacare, you can put that in as well. And how it works is you get an email and you can set it actually, it's very customizable. You can have it come in once a day, at most once a day, so you only get 1 email once a day from it. And it will have a list of all the different stories that are related to whatever that search is. So again, if you want to see what Pete Aguilar is in the news, all you have to do is set this. It will send an email to you automatically, see what he's saying. Very easy to get to know what he's saying and what he's doing without having to do much research on a consistent basis. It's almost like Google does the work for you. Now we're on to grow. So we're at know. This is the grow component. So this is growing your skills and your influence. How many of you have an email list of some sort? Most people do. It's a great thing to leverage. We really encourage it, especially if there's something going on that you need to get people's attention. Send an email out, say, hey, there's this big bill coming up, we need you to call and tell your member of Congress to support or oppose it. There are other ways, social media, regardless if it's Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, using social media to have a broad network and pass on information and also get people motivated to do things is vitally important. Because if you know the issue, it's great. But if you don't do something about it, then the representative doesn't feel that pressure. And we need to make sure that representatives feel that pressure so that they do the right thing. Other things to do, map out where your member of Congress is. You need to know where their office is so you can go in and meet with them. If you have the time, put together a group, maybe get the media to come. I had a Sentinel in Northern Illinois that she's meeting with her Republican candidate, or Republican member of Congress. He's about a 40% on the scorecard, so he's not that good. And she had the most difficult time trying to get a meeting. But she finally cobbled together 6 people. She kept pressing him to set up a meeting, and they did. But she understood that probably wasn't going to get a very fair audience. Maybe it was going to be short. They were going to be dismissive. So she got the newspaper to send a reporter and actually document the whole thing. And then suddenly, funny enough, the staffer was very receptive, had a notepad, was taking notes the entire time, and after the 30 minutes came away from it and was like, thank you all for coming, and she thanked them back. That's the kind of accountability that we need to see, and that's something, of course, we can help you with as a resource, but you can't do that if you don't know where the member of Congress is, where their office is, or who their staffers are that actually work in that office. So mapping it out is helpful. Again, that's something that as part of the Sentinel program, we can help you with. And then finally, if you have a small group of people that have good skills in a certain area, you can organize a small team. Maybe you're all good at Twitter, you're all good at op-eds, whatever it might be, you can organize into a small coherent team and really be a powerhouse in the area so that you can influence your member of Congress. So Twitter, this is a really quick one I want to go over because a lot of people think it's just about tweeting what Kim Kardashian is doing that day. It sadly is, but there's also a political component to it. You can actually influence your member of Congress in a lot of different ways. So it's a fantastic tool for quick answers. I know it's going to be hard to read, but basically, someone was asking me a question, one of our Sentinels down in Duncan Hunter's district, able to give a quick answer. It took about 2 minutes, and it was much faster than email. You can link to other sources. Let's say there's a link that you really want to push out to people. Instead of just sending it via an email with like the forward next to it, you can tweet it out, put something clever in the beginning, grab people's attention so that they ultimately get the link. And let's say you have 40,000 followers, like some of our Sentinels do. You're getting the link to 40,000 people. And I wish we had email lists that were 40,000 large, but 40,000 on Twitter is a lot of people to get the message to. You can stay connected with members of Congress. Representative Rohrabacher, Justin Amash, those are two guys that actively follow and monitor their own Twitter account. They actually are the ones that read it, that answer it, that see the notifications. So this is a direct line to some members of Congress. I know it's really tough when you call into members of Congress's office and you get the staffer and they say, well, we'll deliver the message, et cetera, et cetera. But Twitter, you can get around that in a lot of cases. And it's relatively easy to use, and again, something that we can help with. It's also great for breaking news. I think all of you know how fast the Drudge Report is on getting news. Twitter's faster. I know it's hard to believe, but it somehow is. And then finally, customer service and also intel. So this was a representative who was all about the Farm Bill and supported that. And we saw a tweet that said he was at the Sunbelt Agricultural Expo. So we can kind of understand why he's such a big proponent of the wonderful Farm Bill, which is just farm pork and food stamps. And finally, identifying trends. You can find on Twitter what's trending, what's a big topic, what's being talked about, and from there, you can actually read up on it and figure out more from it. So if there's something conservative that's big, you can click on that and find out more information about it. So it's easy, 4 steps. You can do it. Again, we can help. This is just kind of an outline. You go to twitter.com. You follow some individuals and groups. If you have friends, if you have news sources, you learn the language. It's not Greek. It's not like you're learning anything that complex. It's just the @ and the hashtag and all of that. Again, we have web pages that can help you understand it better so you don't have to wade into it without knowing what to do. And then finally, start tweeting. And my general rule of thumb is tweet what you would normally say to a person. Don't obviously be a jerk. And then also don't argue with idiots. If you don't argue with idiots, you're going to be fine. So finally, when it comes to go and lead, Trevor can talk about it since he's in the field. Off to you, Trevor.
Thank you. And I know this is a lot of information and this is really fast. I mean, we don't expect you guys to be Twitter experts when you get home. But seriously, if you have any questions and if any of you are interested in getting onto Twitter, please contact Matt or myself. If you're interested in Facebook, writing letters to the editor, let us know, because that's why we're here. We're here as a resource to help activists become more effective. And that brings us to the last thing, go. Go out and lead your community. Go out and make a difference. This is what our Sentinels have been doing all across the country for the last 4 years. We have, the Export-Import Bank is a great example. Crony capitalism at its best that has just been reauthorized overnight for, how long has it been around? 1934. It's been around and it's reauthorized every time in the darkness of night. Luckily, our Sentinels are there, educating themselves and educating other people, and are no longer letting Congress get away with this crony capitalism. Congress hates it when you guys know what they're voting on. The most ideal vote that Congress can make is something that the people have no idea is going on. So we want you guys there. Some other examples about the difference you guys can make. Staffers, connecting with staffers are so important. You guys need to build your relationship with your congressman, with his staff specifically. We have someone in Texas who is in touch with one of the staffers for, I won't mention the office, but basically when a piece of legislation comes up, the Sentinel and the staffer actually are exchanged phone numbers. So the staffer will text the Sentinel and say, hey, where does Heritage Action stand on this issue? Can you tell us a little more about it? Because these people have become experts on this subject, like you guys can. We want to get all the information out to you guys. We want to give you guys the skills necessary to really make a difference. And 2015 is going to be great, you know. It was said in just this meeting, this is your guys' government. You guys have to be the ones that save it. You can't elect a representative and expect them to go to Congress and do everything right. You guys have to hold them accountable. And we're actually going to talk about some issues coming up. Let's go for it. Or are there any questions first? Are we going to talk about questions or issues?
We can do questions. Well, we can do questions after issues.
Okay, questions after issues.
Okay. So we've broken it down just into 4 categories. There's going to be a lot more up here than we're going to talk about, but we can, again, send out more of this information. So here's some of the issues we want to highlight in 2015 to make you aware, because some of them may be obscure. You might not be knowledgeable on it quite yet, but they're coming down the road. And if we start discussing it now, it makes it that much harder for politicians to sweep something under the rug like a last minute bailout. Because they love saying, oh, we're in a crisis, we need to bail this out. But if you know a month ahead of time that this is coming up, it's easy to tell them, no, you have plenty of time, here's an alternative, you should be passing this. So the first thing, and I'm sure everyone is familiar with it, but it's the Department of Homeland Security funding. It's going back and forth between the House and the Senate. Senate Democrats are blocking it. The big thing that we want people to take away, and especially Sentinels, is keep up the fight. The funding will expire on February 28th, and the important vote is, what will Republicans do 1 minute before midnight on February 27th? Will they stand strong? Will they cave? That's completely up to you guys. It's completely up to activists, because members of Congress are the last to move. They move based on what their constituents say. If they don't hear anything, they'll do what's ever easiest in the Washington bubble. If they hear from you, if their phone lines are melting down, if the interns, as I was one at one point, are getting frustrated from all these calls, it's going to translate through. So that's why it's important to keep up the pressure now and all the way up until February 28th. And whether it's your member of Congress, I know that might be tough, or other members of Congress, especially in the Southern California area, it's good to keep that pressure up. And this will apply to all the things we talk about here. So that's an important one. That's playing out over this month. Clearly something that we're actively talking about and sending out information. So if you're part of the Sentinel program, you'll be briefed about this on a daily, if not weekly basis. Second one, this is coming later in the year. It's a transportation bailout. I'm sure you all are familiar with how horrendous some of these transportation funds are, especially in California. I'm from Michigan, where we have the highest gas tax and by far the worst roads. So there's clearly some work to be done. At the federal level, they want to raise the gas tax. That's the solution they're having right now. We just got some relief at the gas pump. I don't think we want Congress to get rid of that relief. It doesn't make much sense. So what we want to do instead is push for a conservative alternative. It's in the face of Transportation Empowerment Act, which, to give you an idea, devolves power back to the states, and it slashes the gas tax from 18 to 3 cents. So that's the kind of constructive policies we want to see actually come into legislation, instead of simply kicking the can down the road, raising the gas tax, and
if I could, why don't you just very briefly touch on the issues, or at least mention them for their attention, and then let's open it up for some questions.
Okay.
And I'll take the blame, because we are running a little bit behind here, so we want to make sure our audience has a chance to give their input on things tonight.
Yeah, so those are the 2 big ones that are coming up. I'll send out the list later if you guys are interested, and that way you can look at it. But the easiest way to stay up to date on it is simply be part of the Sentinel program. Then you don't need to worry about any of it. You get it on the phone call on Mondays, you get it in your email, you get it from all of our resources, and obviously you have Trevor and I to talk to directly. So with that, we'll open it up to questions. Yeah.
What if you know where your congressman lives? Do you knock on his door? Is that an option?
Yeah, I would say that's probably not the best route to go, just because I want to probably separate.
Well, telephone, like Mike Morrell, I called Mike Morrell when I was in Texas, and he answers himself. He actually talks to me.
Okay, it's different if you have a cell phone. I know some of our Sentinels have the cell phone number for their members of Congress.
Yeah.
And texting them, calling them, especially if they view you as a trusted source that you can talk with, that's one of the most valuable connections you can have.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, absolutely, definitely use that, definitely be a resource. And again, we can kind of help you with how the best way to be a resource is for
I
them.
have Pete Aguilar's phone number.
And just be careful, Sam. We don't want another restraining order, right? There's just that. Anyone else? And we've got both of the questions, or we also want to open this up and give an opportunity to express your views about whatever the issues of the day are. And just bear in mind that there's a public meeting and anyone can be here, so the views expressed will not necessarily be those of our group. And we also don't want to have any YouTube moments here. But
I won't be offended if any of you say the Today Show sucks. I will not be offended.
Anyone wants to know how to sign up for your program?
So we're going to be here afterwards. We'll be able to sign you up instantaneously on my tablet, and we'll also definitely give you our business cards as well as some information, which I know you have on your tables. If you look at the one that says Ladder of Engagement, you'll find a link. I think it's on the bottom somewhere. It'll say heritageaction.com/Sentinel. If you go to that URL, at the very bottom of the page, there's a questionnaire. You fill it out. When you submit it, I'm the first person to see it, and I can talk with you, get you in the Sentinel program, but it's just easier if you come by afterwards to sign up. If you're on a time crunch or something like that, then definitely sign up online or contact us directly.
Fletch, do you have something you want to say?
I understand Speaker Boehner has breakfast at the same restaurant, I think it's Jim's Diner or something like that. Is there a way to get to the power brokers, the real big power brokers, and he's starting to make some good decisions, especially the Israel thing, bypassing the state and the White House. Can we continue to try and keep him on track? Who really has his ear, and how can we get his ear more often?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Boehner is an amazing politician. I say that in the least favorable way towards him as possible. But it's really interesting. He actually came out and said not too long ago, wherever his party goes, he'll stand in front and march. So he is just there to go wherever the party is, and that's going wherever you guys are. So the best way for you guys to push Boehner in a certain direction is push your representative into that direction that you want Boehner to go. And as we do that with our 10,000 Sentinels across the country, you'll see Boehner starts following those directions.
Anyone else have a question for our speakers or comments they'd like to make? Don't everyone rush at once.
Thank you.
I'm limited right now in that I don't have a computer, but I do have access to Facebook. Facebook is very simple to use. It's a lot simpler than email. Do you have a good source on Facebook you could direct us so we could like it, link to it, friend it, whatever?
Yeah, I know that on Facebook we definitely have a presence. I'm not as big of a Facebook user, but I know that when we're distributing information, we try and do an all-the-above approach. So we send out a lot of our information through Twitter, we send out a lot of it through email, we also have it by phone. Again, I was talking about the Monday night conference calls. They're at 5:30 Eastern, so it's not really night for you guys, it's 2:30 your time. But they're good to listen into. They're a great legislative update for about 30 minutes, really 15 minutes of a legislative update. So the answer is yes, we do it through all sorts of different means. And it's just whichever is most convenient for you, because we understand some people like Facebook, some people don't, some people like phones, some people like email, and we try and cater to all of that as possible. And if you have a specific need, we're coordinators for specific regions for a reason, because we want to respond to you guys as closely as possible. So let us know and we can specially tailor it. I like to tell my Sentinels, please bother me. I'm here to be bothered. That's my job. So please contact us as often and as frequently. Don't hesitate about it. We're a resource.
Yeah, to answer your question, you can just search Heritage Action for America on Facebook, and you'll find a page. And we put out information that way too.
Anyone else have anything they would like to say or ask? Okay, lady back here.
Yeah.
Yes, are you part
Yeah, I
of the
know I kind of went over that at the beginning
separate?
quick. Yeah, so we're the political arm of the Heritage Foundation. Don't want to get too much into lawyer speak, but it's the difference between a 501c3 and a 501c4. So basically, yeah, I don't want to go into it, but yeah, basically, I'm out of DC. I'm in the same building as the Heritage Foundation, to put it in context.
And this is a common tactic on the left as well, is they will have allied organizations. One is the C3 charitable organization, and the other is the C4 political organization. They work together, but that the donations to the C3 are tax-deductible charitable donations. So it's good to see that we're implementing that strategy.
Yep.
Anyone else have a comment or question?
And we'll be here after, so even if you don't get an answer now, you can always ask.
I don't see any, so let's move on. We'll do our raffle and we'll wrap things up.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.